up for the electoral challenges that are coming up with the helm, with of course, with the message of our national president.
Let's take this report on the CPDM, the 39th anniversary of the CPDM, a report of Rose Ovambe before we come back. The report.
They are celebrating 39 years of reign. Militants of the ruling party, Cameroon's People Democratic Movement, CPDM, of Fundi's 7th section in their numbers, pay tribute to their national president, His Excellency Paul Biya. This year, once again, they commemorate the unfailing mobilization to pay him all respect and admiration.
La mobilisation dont il est question tient de ce que
what we are talking about is that politics is an activity, a commitment at all times, and we do not sleep on our laurels. We have to tell them so that they should not be surprised.
La surprise ne soit pas à leur rencontre.
The celebration, marked by several articulations, was also the occasion to consolidate the important contributions of this council in the growth of CPDM.
Qu'il s'agissait de développer à l'entendement de tous les militants.
It was a question of developing an understanding between all activists because the theme was retained by the Central Committee and it was necessary to make it available to sympathizers. So we asked them to mobilize, and it comes from the fact that politics is an activity at all times and we do not sleep on our laurels. Mechanisms, democracies, especially electoral processes whose calendar is announced.
Démocratie et surtout des processus électoraux dont le calendrier est annoncé.
Arrived at the head of the town hall in 2013, the first municipal magistrate does everything possible to implement the projects of his political ideal, and it is with a note of humor that his works are praised.
L'occasion m'échoit de féliciter M. Augustin Tamba, maire de Yaoundé 7, pour cette abnégation, ce dynamisme, cette volonté de vouloir construire et transformer Yaoundé 7 en Hollywood Yaoundé 7.
After the motion of support and deference to the President of the Republic, an appointment is taken for March 24, 2025, a year of several political and social processes.
Augustin Tamba, the mayor of Yaoundé 7, the celebration at the level of Yaoundé 7 with Rose Ovambe. Well, I would like just to ask a question. It's true that it's not part of our debate. The CPDM has just celebrated 39. Any comment, Mr. Frank Kendall?
Not much comments about the 39th anniversary of the CPDM. Because for me, it seems that they have been talking a lot about this celebration, which is not actually a solution of what Cameroonians are facing. But there is just one thing that intrigued me in what I just listened from one of the leaders of the CPDM, who was trying to say that politics is an activity of all time, in which recently we were told by the Minat that they have a period. There is a particular period, a period of doing politics. So all these contradictions are not really making the Cameroonian society to advance. So we have to understand and make sure that what we are saying should not be out just to destroy the political atmosphere in Cameroon.
You are a militant, Bertrand Kenganyim, the CPDM 39 anniversary. Anything to say?
Yes, not really much. You know, it is very normal that a political party should celebrate its anniversary. All political parties have a particular day which they were created.
The day of PAP?
Yes, PAP is April 22nd, 1992. So we always celebrate, or we are planning to celebrate one. Last year we thought of it, but because of the challenging situations, and we are planning to do so soon or in future. It is very normal that they should celebrate. At least from the comment, we had one of the representative of the committee of the CPDM reminding the militants to mobilize, because politics is at all time. Even in the house we do politics, and it's because he's conscious of the challenges that await them in 2025. It's been normal, so I don't think there is anything wrong for a political party to celebrate its anniversary. But to Cameroonian at large, I know they will expect CPDM to celebrate, or any political party to celebrate, when it is succeeding. Of course, if you look at CPDM, they have been there for 40 years. So they have the right to celebrate, to stay in the helm of a nation for 40 years. It's not an easy task. It's not given. So that might be why they are celebrating.
Okay. Equally, the man of Kumbo, yes. You are not a CPDM militant?
Yes, I'm not any...
a sympathizer?
No. You know, it's very normal that people should celebrate even their birthdays. Yes, so CPDM should not be accepted. CPDM seems to be a focus because they are the ruling political party in Cameroon. Well, it's normal that they should celebrate. But what is the take-home message? What have you been able to do for 40 years? That's the question they could have asked themselves. I don't know why they should. I didn't know why they even call it celebration rather than commemorating. It's on to sit, evaluate yourself, and see whether it's good for you to drink wine or not. Well, it is normal, but sometimes when you are celebrating something or recalling something that happened to you, maybe the creation, your birthday and things like that, you have to sit yourself and evaluate. Well, the CPDM man will recount everything that they have done. It is normal because they have the flag. They have the upper hand. They are doing everything possible to remain at the top,
to stay in power,
which is called for celebration. And that's why I don't see anything wrong in celebrating, because you rather try to ask me why I'm celebrating my birthday. So CPDM, well, we are observing. We're still observing.
Well, we are still observing. That is what Lambert Kevin is saying. We shall move on to our one of the main topics of the day. We are talking Senegal. Can we have the topic on the screen, please? Senegalese elections, a lesson to opposition, a lesson to Africans, a lesson to Cameroonians. Can we have the images from Senegal, the images of the election from Senegal? Can we have it with the collaboration of our technicians? If we can have some images coming from Senegal. It's true that this week it has been a week of much talk about the democracy that we are witnessing coming from the land of the Teranga Lions of Senegal. Senegalese elections. I will begin with the man of the CPDM, the man who can die for the CPDM, who can die for the President of the Republic. Yes. Tell us, Senegalese elections, can we say it's a lesson to opposition, it's a lesson to Africans, it's a lesson to Cameroonians?
Thank you very much. It's true. President Paul Biya is my hero. He's a wise man of Africa as well. So 40 years is not 40 days. So definitely, I think the whole of Africa can always learn from him. As regards to just particular case of Senegal, for me, I think there are many factors that need to be celebrated, because I think everybody is looking at the overall victory. Because I think for one candidate to become president of the republic, you need his predecessor to be able to create an environment that will allow for elections, allow for that person to be able to take over. So for me, I saw the amnesty, which released most of the prisoners, political prisoners. I also saw the reconciliation talks that Macky Sall had with most of the other opposition parties for what the agenda that they had. So definitely for me, it shows that the institutions are growing. There's a maturity in their institutions, whether they be judiciary, whether they be legislative. And so you would see that there's a maturity in their institutions to be able to accommodate for the different cleavages that they have environmentally from their own country. For me also, I would like to see it's important also that Senegal has had a history of coalitions. It's important that we might understand that since Abdou Diouf, which means that they've never really had one majority party. Just like most other African nations politically, you will notice a majority party that's been there for a while. But in Senegal, you've always had coalition parties, which means that there's not necessarily a major majority ethnicity or party, because most of them are, as we will call them, Muslims, and they speak one language. So there's usually never a majority party. They are mostly coalitions, and these coalitions, by the next mandate, we've always realized that they change coalitions. So to me, I think it's a great feat, definitely for Bassirou and for Ousmane Sonko, who is quite popular in Senegal, because they have most of the youth voters as well. So there's a consciousness of the youth voters in Senegal and as to what they want, because we saw throughout the riots, most of them were really youth. You never really saw an age group of older Senegalese going to the street. We saw more and more youthful Senegalese going to the street as in regards to their demands. So definitely it's important now to see whether or not, because the youth are very important, but you also have to be able to respond to their needs. And so I think when you looked at Bassirou, he said one of the first things he wanted was reconciliation. Now the reconciliation, would it be within the political parties? Would it be within the associations and civil society? Because mind you, in Senegal, the civil societies are very strong. I would think that the civil societies can actually almost rival their institutions, which means that political parties in Senegal are not as strong as their civil society. So definitely, if you're voting in Senegal, most of the times they vote on coalitions where they will identify a candidate, but within their political parties and their institutions, they always change. That's been since Abdou Diouf. You had Abdou Diouf, you had Abdoulaye Wade, you have Macky Sall, and then now you have Bassirou Diomaye. So hopefully we'll see what that could lead on to. I think it's just the maturity of their democratic institutions that are still growing. Will he be able to respond to the pressure of the youth, because most of the youth are looking for employment? Will he be able to respond to those needs, because there's a socio-economic real challenge in Senegal, where there are a lot of investors, and these investors are not necessarily Senegalese. You have the World Bank, you have other structures that have invested there, and so a lot of times in a capitalist environment, if you find the workforce for the youth, what do they really produce? Can they be able to sustain that development? Can they be able to sustain those jobs, to be able to have many more youth employed? Because in Senegal, you have a higher, I think it's about almost 60%. The youth workforce. So can you realistically employ all that workforce, where more or less we're moving into a world where people understand that public service cannot absorb, where you will understand that private sector has to be able to absorb? Now, for a young president, will he be able to absorb that, and will he be able to fight corruption? Because that's the real tough part, which that was the number one, I think, thing that Ousmane Sonko has been saying, the fight against corruption. So let's see what that will lead to.
Is Senegal talking to Africans? Is Senegal talking to Cameroon? The lesson to opposition? Because we saw how Sonko, not being eligible, actually allowed Diomaye Faye to go in. Is it a lesson that they are giving to Cameroonians, to Africans, to political parties? What is your take, you as a leader of a political party, Frank Kengani, not Frank Kengani, Frank Kendon, with what is happening in Senegal?
Yes, you know, Mr. Clarkson, this is a very important breakthrough in the African democracy. So when we want to combine it, or when we want to identify the breakthrough related to the Cameroonian political field, yes, it is quite important to enumerate a large scale of things that are not working in our own system, political system. You know, there is a kind of things that when you look at, you'll say, my God, what all these things happens only in different countries, but not in Cameroon. So we can see how the elected president of Senegal was sent to jail, which he came back just few days.
Yeah, just after, 10 days before.
Yeah, just 10 days after elections.
Before election.
But this is a sign. the sign that I see in this is that Senegalese elites, they didn't abandon him in this situation, as is usually done in Cameroon. Because when a young Cameroonian have a breakthrough, we have been seeing many Cameroonians that when they stand and denounce something, they will be sent to jail and they will be forgotten in jail. You see, so I really appreciate the action of Macky Sall for the amnesty that he gave to the candidate, and for him at least to come out from this situation and try to contest and try his luck, which have been benefit for the political atmosphere in Senegal, and equally for the young the youth of Senegal. So in this title, what I want to say is that the problem in our country, we cannot really try to compare Senegal and Cameroon, because we have another kind of political educations, right? We have the education of separating politicians. Instead of bringing them together, even opposition in between them, they don't have that culture of being together, agree on certain point just to move onward. You see what I mean? So the Cameroonian political atmosphere today need a real re-education of the political understanding of how things supposed to be. You see, Sonko and the elected president, they have two different opinions, but they managed to come together to make it. That is very important. They managed to come together and agree just to change the situation, just to show that being together is a very good that's why you see even the party in power in Cameroon always beats opposition, because most opposition are more into conflicts than into politics.
Well, of course, many political parties into conflicts than into politics. That is what Frank Kengdong is saying, that uniting or having a coalition in the opposition will be very, 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 very difficult, not to say even impossible. Frank, not Frank, I have two Kengdongs and Kenganyis here. There is, this is Bertrand Kenganyi, Bertrand of the PAP. Senegal is talking to us. Senegal is talking to Africans, to Cameroonians.
Yes, Mr. Tabi, permit me to use this opportunity to congratulate the president-elect of Senegal. It is a good job, and we expect more from him, especially the Senegalese people. And also permit me to appreciate the Constitutional Council of the Senegalese government, because they permitted the election to go on, because at a particular point it's like the president Macky Sall wanted to
go in for another mandate.
But the Constitutional Council was staying and firm on their decision, which permitted these other political prisoners to be liberated 10 days before the election. And if there's a lesson that we have learned, be it in Cameroon or in Africa at large, we have at various levels, we have first the citizens, second the opposition party, and third the ruling party. First, I will start with the youth. You see, the youth are those who voted. I think it is a lesson to Cameroonians that when you are annoyed with the system, or you are not happy with what is going on in Cameroon, the solution is to go to the ballot box, vote, and choose your candidate. Complaining and not taking action will not help us. When you complain and you don't go to vote, then there is a problem. Then you should stop complaining. If you want change, participate positively in that change, and we all agree that the only way we can win election in Cameroon, or we can become a president in Cameroon, is through election, because that is constitutional and democratically. Then the second thing now is the opposition party. There's a lot of lesson to learn. Sonko and the president-elect has shown the opposition party that general interest comes first before personal interest. We should keep greed aside. When you know that somebody is popular and can deliver the job, the interests of the people, because when we say we are opposition party, we want change. And if we can come together, select someone whom we think can do the job, then it's very normal. We give the person the trial and we agree on the basis. And before the election, they can sit and discuss on who should become what, and not just saying, or before you come in for a coalition, you already say this one is your candidate. There are a lot of issues that we have to learn from there. So I think if you think that you are not qualified, you give your support, just like Sonko. Not that Sonko was not qualified, but he was not legal, meaning he was not legitimate, so he handed his vote to his, let me say, his assistant or his next of kin. And today we have a positive result of him being the president. Then we also now, the third aspect to learn is the government. The ruling party needs to learn from this election. If they should make the environment conducive for voters to, or for opposition party to carry up their election, I think this should go especially to the boss of the Minat. He should see how a coalition wins election in another country without being disturbed, and he should stop signing documents forbidding opposition parties from forming coalition. A coalition is democracy. You can sit in your room and you feel that there is a particular time for people to do politics, and you come out to ban coalition. It means you are afraid, and that is the strategy that they have been using.
Is Minister Paul Atanganji refusing coalitions?
He stopped.
Or he is refusing illegal associations?
There is nothing like illegal association.
You call them clandestine associations.
PAP can meet with the Cameroon Patriotic Youth, and we can first of all meet and agree on certain terms.
Yeah.
It's just like you having your birthday and inviting me for us to talk, and then somebody comes.
But the Cameroon Patriotic Youth is legal.
What of SDF is Camto is legal, MRC is legal, just like PAP. If we meet and decide to agree to present a candidate, it should not be a problem. The only worry I have is that each time opposition party meets, they feel that we are a threat to a nation. They bring all type of excuses to present us as if we are vampires, or as if we are those that will destroy the nation. What we are saying is that they should allow us to form our coalition, and I will not even go to say they should. I'm speaking directly to opposition parties, leaders. They should form better coalition so that we should tackle the CPDM in 2025. If we do that, we are certain to defeat CPDM, because they have nothing to offer. They've done what they can do for the past 40 years. We have seen. We can see the roots. Everything is there. It's broad day. It's not even something.
The good roots.
To them, they call it, I heard somebody saying, it's a modern route. You can see how dusty I'm looking. Just to come from my area to this place is a whole mess. So I think a good coalition will help us a lot.
Lambert, yes. We are talking Senegal, lesson to opposition, lesson to Cameroonians, to Africans.
I followed a debate program on a sister station, and there was a journalist that made it very clear that Africans and Cameroonians always like to talk, even when it is not time to talk. It's like we have been waiting for something to happen in completely a different area, and we want to liaise it as if it's happening in Cameroon. The constitution of Cameroon, what does it say? The Senegalese constitution, what does it say? If we keep comparing this thing, we are failing. Sometimes it's good to compare life, but mind you have to have limits.
But we cannot copy an example.
Copying an example,
a good example
in a different country that has completely a different constitution is just like talking too much as Africans. We talk too much.
So should not copy the Senegalese example.
Let me learn. There is something that you don't know. Sometimes we sit here with coat suits and very handsome and we talk. Our mothers that are in the village, they are suffering. What will be the impact? What is this president the new president of Senegal going to bring to convince Senegalese that I am the real man? We should not start evaluating him now. We should rather focus on how to bring peace in Cameroon and making 2025 a better year by voting. I am glad that these opposition parties, they are like talking some sense, because I felt like I have told you on this platform, Tabi, if the opposition parties in Cameroon, they have decided to be Jangi houses and they are hungry, please, they should rather support the CPDM for CPDM to remain in power for as long as they can. The reason I'm making this statement is because they don't want to collaborate. When they say coalition, when you want to get into coalition, we have the MRC, we have SDF, we have PAP, we have other parties. Do you know that for them to sit in a round table is a problem? Where to? How to? In fact, the agenda, it's a whole problem. And we are talking and 2024 is dying and we think that nothing is happening. Are we not failing? Yes. We are failing. We could have been saying that since the Senegalese man, young guy, and let me say this, I am afraid that young Cameroonians, I'm a youth, we are drunkards. Drunkard because we think that our fathers have not done what we expect, and we have decided to be drunken ourselves and feeling free, and it's not helping us. Those who have seen the square, in fact the four walls of classroom, should do something, and these are the people. I am glad that the CPDM man is a young man, and I'm begging him that every day, please advise His Excellency the President of the Republic to retire and advise you from the background as a technical advisor. If the President Paul Biya is your technical advisor, and if you take over Cameroon as this Senegalese man, you will do something, because one, the President of the Republic is in fact a political guru. He's a political technician. He's a political scientist. He's a political everything. Rather than him stressing himself in that office, you should come in now as you are defending CPDM 101% and stay in the background and advise the junior one to grow like what's happening in Senegal. That's why I don't want to compare. Our own case is completely a different case, because what our parents are doing up there, they have technically refused us from doing something, because when you want to even start up a small business, what can 100,000 francs do as a young businessman in Cameroon? Nothing. The rent is already a problem. Paying taxes, I was asked to declare tax about over 1.5 million in a business that is not up to whatever. So I am praying that the coalition should be formed before the end of March, before the end of it can happen. It's just a phone call. The world is a global village. You don't need to call Maurice Kamto to come to Yaoundé. No, you need to create a group and attach those people, because the social media has taken over everything. And if we are talking here, I need to say we'll convene a meeting in Camdis television to sit and agree who to lead the coalition. We are simply talkatives. So I am praying that if people can come together, we can be thinking of what can happen to Cameroon, like what happened to Senegal. If we keep talking and talking, in fact, we'll be more talkatives.
A coalition failed in 2004. Another one failed in 2011. Yes, you wanted to add something before we take Anshan?
Yeah, I wanted to add something based on our brother intervention here related to the coalition situation in Cameroon. You know, he made a very wise point, which I really appreciate. The point that our brother, the CPDM man, Mr. Achang, should try to meet with his national president, His Excellency Paul Biya, try to ask him to give the opportunity to the youth, so that they should be able to do a better job. So because when I look at my brother, at my friend, at my compatriot, continuing to hallow the president, which 92 91 or 92 years old today, having ruling the country for 40 years and more. So, and the actual situation that we have in our country now, it is kind of regret, because I think that Mr. Achang, if he's not aspiring to be the president of Cameroon, I just think that he's just into politics just to dance the dance of of the elders, in which we really need another political dynamic. We need another way of doing politics, because being with, as he said, Professor Kamto and other leaders, yes, of course, the problem in Cameroon is that Cameroonian doesn't trust people that are into politics, because, you know, today a politician will come and say one thing, so after, when he becomes a mayor or an assistant mayor, his behavior will change immediately. He will be interested only of trying to raise money to buy car, rent a big hotel, travel abroad. That is what kills our political atmosphere in Cameroon. We need to think Cameroon. We need to think about our problems. We need to integrate peace. We need to grow up our economics. And this is a political, it's a very hard political work. Not only from specialists, but also politicians have to participate and make sure that they gain the trust of Cameroonians. That is it.
Yes, Anshan, what is your take? Certainly you wanted to react when Bertrand Kengani was saying something.
No, thank you very much. Thank you for. I think every panelist has their own view, but I always like to say what an old man sees sitting, a young man jumping cannot see. So sometimes when you have such
an old man can show a young man
jumping,
way to follow.
Yes, yeah, sure. No one is disputing that, and I think for myself, who's on the CPDM party, and as a young man speaking on behalf of the CPDM party, I think that there's a mix. Also, it doesn't necessarily also mean that because there's a wave of a new, you should just do away completely and eradicate with the old. You could always learn something from the past and then move forward with the young. So I think within the CPDM party, there is a growing evolution of a mix and the old and the new. Now we have electoral challenges that are coming up through. I think we shall see what shall happen, because mind you, the head of state himself said he would let Cameroonians know when the time will come. So I would hate to be premature into that regard. So I think he's the natural candidate for the CPDM political party. Also, but at the point
that is what the text of the party says, right?
Yeah, he's the natural candidate. So at the particular point in time, the CPDM party will know who's the designated candidate. So there's a difference between the natural and the designated candidate. So I think let's not be premature. Most, of course, as a natural candidate, we love him. He is great, and he has been doing well. It's 40 years, it's not 40 days. So definitely, we are not going into a cult of personality here. We should differentiate, because there are actions that you have put in forth for the nation, and there's a difference between a cult of personality. Now, we will not want to be able to judge who amongst political parties have adopted a cult of personality as opposed to doing actions, because he has a history since when he was 32 years old for Cameroon. As for Mr. Bertrand, I would just like to say that no, Cameroon has always had coalitions, so I would hate to go to extreme as to tagging the Minister of Territorial Administration in Twitter per se, as to saying he personally from his own room doesn't want coalitions. There have been coalitions in Cameroon since 1955. If you only look at just the over the Mungo side, there have been coalitions. But I think it's because it's not an act, it's a communique that was actually put out. The communique is addressing the clandestine nature of two particular coalitions, which seem to be addressing themselves as coalition, with one which has to do with some issues of sovereignty, which are not clear, because in that particular regard, there's an elected member of parliament that actually went to prison and met with a particular individual, which we will not call here, because these are cases that are actually under, these are classified documents. So he has a double posture as well. So he has a double posture as the Secretary of the National in terms of security. So he has that posture. So we should be able to give the benefit of the doubt into that particular regard. As to the second other name aforementioned, you have to realize also that was also another party individual, would like to call it a Hokomi d'Etat, who was also locked up and then came back. So it's left onto these so-called coalitions to come back to the ministry, which is their hierarchy, and defend their posture. So I think that in administration, I think people should separate administrative review from political enthusiasm. each of these political parties, because every coalition, just like you rightly said, Mr. Vice President, is based on a political party. And every political party now designated can now choose which form it wants to move forward in its political agenda. But whereas when we look at, if you are a member of parliament and you were voted in through a different political party, and you assume a different political party, but you are actually touching on issues of sovereignty to advocate for a third political party, it is confusing. It could look dubious. So definitely there's some indications there, and I think that when it comes to issue of national security, when there could be allegations, but it's left to you to bring the benefit of the doubt to address those issues with all the evidences that need be. It's true that when you go into the prison of Kondengi, you need the commission of the government to be able to get in through. But you don't know what was said, what was transpired in those conversations. So it's not accusing one party or another, but it's just a caution to say that as you are moving through. So I don't think when it comes to most political parties as to their momentum, because as you rightly said, the MRC party, they had their Congress. The SDF, they had their Congress. We are seeing the PCRN going through a turbulence where there's a founder and then there's another. So it's going into, and we saw that we've seen that with many political parties. And so not to confuse, because the law 90/53 and 90/56 really states the differences. So I would call on those who are back home to just read these laws on association and political parties as well, because the Minister of Territorial Administration, not intuitive person, has that right to be able to, if a political party seems dubious in activity, to be able to withdraw or warn, to alert that the activities of such political party are dubious. Now he hasn't blocked any political party, as far as I know.
Psychologically, they are blocked.
No.
Yes, in one way or another. Systematically, yes.
No.
Yes.
Now, in political,
suspecting that
you cannot block. We're using Senegal, right?
Look, brother.
We are coming to you. We are
using Senegal, right? Politics is militantism.
Yeah.
Are we right?
You are right.
Now, if I recall, I've never seen the political party of Ninja. I've never seen them had one Congress. Politics is presence. The PAP party has a presence. I've never sat on a political platform for the past 7 years and seen the FCC political party with a presence. So let's not go back to confuse things. I would just rightly like to say, I beg your indulgence. Let's not confuse things. I think it is left for Olivier Mbile and for Mr. Ninche to come back to administration and rightfully provide the evidences that need be. It's the hierarchy. As for all political parties and associations, they are free. They can go and constitute themselves on their political parties, and based on that, with their structures. Now, for me personally, I think the difference between the CPD and political party and most political parties in opposition is the structure. The glaring thing you could see here is Usman Toko giving the confidence in his Secretary General to be able to run for the party. How many political parties in Cameroon are ready to do that? It's very difficult.
How many political parties are ready to do that? Do you think in the PAP, for example, Jean Dennis can allow Fabrice Lena to go in as a presidential candidate for the upcoming elections? Mr. Bertrand Kengani?
Yes.
Before we take Frank Endo.
Yes, it's very possible, because it's not only about giving power to the Secretary General. It is an issue of consensus, and if needs be and arises, he will obviously hand it to Mr. Lena. It's not even him deciding, because there is a council. The PAP is well structured. We have the Council of the Wise. We have National Council where decisions are taken before we distribute now to various levels. Now the problem is, the PAP is always open for any coalition. Like I always say it here, a true opposition party with Republican principles. It's not because a party is an opposition party and that we will join with them or form a coalition with them because we want to overthrow the regime in place. If their ideologies are not Republican, I don't think we can work with such political party, because there are some out there that I don't want to give names. They are very radical in their stance. For instance, some will tell you to carry guns and fight the regime in place, and that is not our principle. We don't think we can form an alliance with such political party. Coming again still on the issue of coalition, I don't think that the PAP can form an alliance with political parties that are pro-CPDM. It is not possible. So what we are saying is that we are open to coalition, but it should be people of integrity, people who respect the republic, people with whom we share the same philosophy and ideology, so that we can build a better Cameroon.
What is the message that you are sending to opposition leaders?
The message to opposition leaders is very clear. They should keep grit aside and work for the interests of Cameroon. There is no place like home. It's true we might belong to different political groups, but we are children of the same republic, and we work for the interests of the republic. We have to be our nation, and for us to build this nation, if we are not satisfied with the regime in place, we should form a stronger and powerful coalition in order to face the CPDM. Without this, we will keep on repeating the same mistakes and remaining.
Because Frunzi and Adamundam Joya, the coalition failed in 2004.
It's very normal that it should fail. It failed because of greed. Because someone will tell you, my party has this number of parliamentarians, yours does not have. My party, so automatically I become the candidate. So all those things need to be put aside.
If there is a coalition, even who to lead the coalition? What are the criteria?
They need to sit. The leaders are all educated people. They agree. They put a plan of action that this is it. We are coming together. We will choose. They can, even within them, the leaders themselves can even nominate even 2 people, and they do the election within the leaders that this person is standing. It's very easy. So, but because of greed,
what happened in Senegal is talking to opposition.
It's talking to opposition that we need a unified, stronger coalition to face the CPDM. I will shock most of my compatriots today that CPDM, when you look at CPDM, I've been to several places in Cameroon. I'm telling you, most areas, everywhere, CPDM is like MTN everywhere. Why some opposition party are not represented? We really want people, the youth, to engage in politics. They should stop.
So to win the CPDM is not easy. Because the CPDM is everywhere.
No, it's easier if the opposition party work and are serious. If they take things serious, it's easier. That is why we have a weekly program in our headquarters, the secretariat, because our headquarters is still in Boya, but we have a secretariat there at Etukebe where we train young Cameroonians who are ready to engage in politics on their civic rights, how to vote, how to protect their election, their votes, how to manage, also how to get involved in the affairs of the republic instead of shying away, drinking beer and saying this one, I don't want politics, I don't care. And if we continue that way, we'll continue to
if we don't do politics, politics will do you.
Yes.
And we have the representative, a president of a political party here. He has been jotting things down. Certainly he has been listening to you with keen interest. A word, Mr. President?
Yes.
Bertrand said that you people are the problem. You don't want to agree. You don't want to come together.
As a keen observer of the phenomenon, in the political field in Cameroon, so there are 2 things that comes into my mind that I've been thinking about it. First, before I go into this, I develop these 2 major points. I would like a little bit to bring some light or to give my point of view related to what our CPDM colleague, friends, just said about visiting a political prisoner. You know, the main problem in our country is that, and that is what opposition should understand, the opposition party should understand that the ruling party can purposely leave you, allow you to commit an error, and they will use the error to communicate just to destabilize your project. In this case, I could have said the initiative of Honorable Nietzsche was a very smart initiative. It was a good initiative, but it wasn't that smart. Why? Because, you know, in Cameroon, we have a lot of people that are specialists into Anglophone problems, into Anglophone crisis. So as a good leader, he could manage to organize a team that could lead this communication with the leader of separatists, the separatist leader who is in prison. That could avoid him from the communicate of the Minats. They will be shooting maybe on this move, but they will not be shooting personally on him and his political program. So for me, in spite from that, I want to say that as a leader, a good leader is not that one that is popular. A good leader is not that one that is rich. A good leader neither is not the one that have PhD or maybe a professor. A good leader is simply that person that can form that means that can construct a collaboration that will stay in perfect harmony. In this case, what I'm trying to say is that if you look like, if you have been in the board of managers, maybe in certain companies, you see that the person that is the top manager is not the one more educated, but is the person that can manage educated people to meet the goal of the company. And that is exactly what we need in Cameroon. You understand? But most Cameroonians, they choose a candidate because he's a doctor in law, he's a doctor in this, he's a doctor in that, he's a professor in that. That is a big mistake we are doing in our country or in our political field. We don't need to have all those degrees to become a leader. A leader is that one, is somebody that is capable to form a constructive collaboration for a purpose that means for the purpose to...
have you seen that leader in the opposition today?
But the problem is that there are a lot of leaders, such leaders. I've been in many political groups. I can read, I can speak with people, I can meet with people, talk with them. They are very interesting guys in our country. That they are not out for conflict. You see what is happening in the PCRN. This is catastrophic. Something that you people have not up to 7 years. You cannot manage it. This is something very disastrous. How do you think a Cameroonian will trust me tomorrow? So, what I'm trying to say is that our intellectuals have to create leaders. They don't need to become leaders because they are already leaders in one way or another. But they need to create leaders that can bring social change and development. They have to create leaders that have the ear to listen to people and to the intellectuals. But today, what is going is that, if this professor have 2 doctorates and the other one just have 1, so he cannot say anything to me too. So that is the main problem that is destroying our political field.
Okay.
Yes, Clarkson.
Mr. Lambert, yes. Kevin, we just followed.
I just want to.
We are coming to you. We are coming to you.
Yes.
Because our camera is not yet on you. It's very important when you are talking to the camera.
Yes.
So tell us, you are saying.
I'm just taking the cue from what the president is saying here. There was a political icon in Cameroon that said he made a statement.
You scratch my back, I scratch your back. Politics Nanyangi.
You scratch my back, I scratch
May his soul rest in perfect peace.
The way we are scratching the backs in Cameroon is questionable. We don't, in fact, the political leaders, they don't have the interest of the community at heart. sometimes you sit, you just want to say. There are people who would like to like join politics or to like to like participate in political affairs, but their internal rules and regulations do not permit them to act. Just like the CPDM. The CPDM, they have their internal rules and regulations that you don't cross that line. Yes, the person that is SG or the vice president remains there, and if you want to mingle, I have to say, want to cross that line, you have a knock on your head. What happens to you?
Candidate for life.
Now, in the technical way, what I'm saying is, if we can feel what the people of Kwakwa are going through, why in Yaoundé, we will know how to lead people. The president is saying something that is like he's reading my mind. Sometimes people want to venture in the school stuff, and when they discover that if you venture, you will go in for it with hard labor. You rather stay silent and observe and watch as things are unfolding, like you are watching news. Because there are people who even threaten and say, when you go on air, please avoid this and that. It is the practical what's happening on the field. That's why some people, they just get lost to thin air. You are finding them, you wouldn't see them, because of the political struggles behind the glass that we don't see in Cameroon. So it's a very, very technical field. Very technical field, but we cannot do anything without politics. The best thing to do is to vote. But now you want to say people should vote. Somebody in Kubu will say, if you vote that thing, you will see. Where are we leading to now? If you don't want to vote now, what is going to happen? The same people will remain there, and you will keep complaining that Senegal has challenged Cameroon, a young boy is coming now to this and that. Meanwhile, you did not even vote. The best thing for us to go and vote. I may not vote, but I'm encouraging others to vote. If we want to have the young president like that one of Senegal, the best thing is the ballot box. No matter what, sometimes people will sit and claim that the CPDM has
Frank Kendon was saying Kevin Frank Kendon was saying a while ago that leadership is not a matter of doctor or professor.
No, it is not book. Let me put that way. It is not intelligence. There's what we call common sense.
Common sense.
Yes, common sense is not common. You can be that rich person, a business tycoon. If you are looking for a business tycoon to lead this country, it is zero. Those business people, they are focused on their businesses. If you are looking now for a natural leader that can talk, that can step out and talk, for instance, to the bike riders, and they will listen and follow and do it. To the taxi drivers, the same. To buy and sell arms, they talk and they listen. You wouldn't find in those big wigs where they move around with big cars. No, because they will be talking to an extent that you cannot ask a question to so and so person. You know, there are some questions in the suggestion box that they don't answer, and they will never answer. Even in credit unions, you want to write a suggestion box, they will never answer. Keep writing them and see. So it is it's a very technical field, but we cannot go without politics. So I'm pleading that the best thing to do, 2025 is coming. The coalition should be formed even before the end of March.
Okay.
The worst before the end of May. Let me give you people me. I'm talking like a journalist. I'm giving people me to form call those people. Anybody that does not want to join the coalition, we are suspecting the person. And there's a way of encouraging me not to sign a paper for you people to have your various rallies. There's a way of doing it. Okay. You don't want to just organize a rally without following rules and regulations of organizing a rally.
Thank you, Lambert.
I want to claim that Minat does not want you people to go and rally. How?
Thank you, Lambert. We are concluding on this topic. Each speaker will have a minute to conclude. Your minute as we are concluding on this topic, Senegalese elections.
Sure.
A lesson to opposition.
Definitely a lesson to opposition, but I would not like to say lesson to opposition, a lesson to all political parties in Cameroon, because I think the CPDM political party is competitive. Since 1992, the national president has instilled in us a different mindset where we should be ready for competition, for political competition. We are at the third phase, where we are seeing more within the party, more and more youthful militants who are coming up and are able to take the mantle, but are patient and are learning. But for us, the most important thing is the remobilizing. And for those who are back home, the take-home message is for that to understand. Take a look at what the CPDM is. It is true there's propaganda around what the CPDM has been, and it is only normal. If you're the regime in power, people should criticize you. It's only but normal. But what we're asking for is take a look at what we are doing. We have a website. If you go into our website, you will see some of the actions. Our political party goes through subsections and section presidents. We also have the women's wings, and we have the youth wings. So do not necessarily focus more on the elite or political nominees that you see. You have to actually, into your constituency, ask them what have they been doing for you, because our remobilization actually goes into the fact that what we have not been able to do, we would like to look into it so that we can be able to bring solutions to it, so that we can help you as well. So it's normal to criticize us, it's normal to criticize the party, but we are working hard to take those criticisms into actions and solutions.
Your last word before we go, Bertrand Kangani, your last word on this Senegalese elections, a lesson to Africa, a lesson to Cameroon, a lesson to opposition.
Yes, it's a lesson to us all as political parties, and especially to Cameroonian youth. And my dear compatriots, it's good to criticize, it's good to become proactive in politics, quit your slumbers, and stop being gullible and face reality. Nobody will come to build a nation for us. We are the ones to build our nation. If we want change, we should register massively, we should vote, we should be represented at all levels, make sure that we protect our vote. And to leaders of our political parties, we are calling on you to form a coalition, and we expect you to keep greed and self-centeredness aside and form this coalition. Let's work for the interests of the nation. Let's stop being egoistic.
Let's work for the interest of the nation. Let's stop being egoistic. Frank Kendong, in 30 seconds, as we are concluding on this first topic, your last word?
Yeah, I want to tell the political parties or the political leaders that the situation, the political breakthrough in Senegal, having today a less than 45 years president, it's something really great for the African democracy. So, what I would like to tell my political colleagues and all the leaders of the opposition and even of the ruling party is that a leader cannot be imposed. A leader can only be chosen. So either in the CPDM or in the opposition party, we should not have that habit to impose a leader. Another message I would like to send to our CPDM friend is that he should be aware that the well-being of the population should not be strictly based on statistics. The population have to feel that they are living good. Thank you.
Thank you. Lambert, you wanted to add something before we move on to our...
Change is very important.
Our second topic.
Change, we have a new president in Nigeria. No matter what is happening there, change is very important. At least for the sake of change, let there be change.
Okay, for the sake of change. It's true that we shall take another topic. But before we take that topic, we have this report. It's on elections, and we have been talking elections in Senegal. Elections, Cameroon actually held a special session yesterday. And of course, Patience Shintoum was there. Can we have a report before we come back?
Validating administrative accounts of the 2023 financial year, management of accounts and the statement of expenditure for the Electoral Board's special appropriation are highlights of this ordinary session. Speaking during the working meeting, Dr. Abrams Eno Egbe, chairperson of Elections Cameroon, presents encouraging statistics in the domain of voter registration during the first quarter.
From the documents and reports submitted by the Director General of Elections, it can be noticed that there have been great strides in the domain of voter registration during the first quarter. The figures of today show a crescendo trend all over the national territory. We have thus far registered a total of 144,817 new electors, 90,124 for women, 101,848 for the youths, and 129 for people with disability. I must commend the field teams for the great work done and encourage them to keep this momentum.
as part of activities in the 2024-2025 strategic plan adopted in 2023 to build capacity of ELECAM personnel ahead of the 2025 elections, targeting the diaspora is optimal.
As part of our 2024 strategic priorities, we will soon be deployed to the diaspora to assess the ongoing voter registration. To that effect, a team of technicians will be dispatched in the coming weeks to all our diplomatic representations and consular offices. Their task will be to fix some of the faulty registration kits and conduct training for new appointed focal points, with the view of ensuring the smooth continuation of voter registration. Permit me to seize this opportunity to thank our fellow compatriots of the diaspora for their indulgence and republican constraint. I assure you that all issues are being addressed promptly and concurrently to enable every eligible citizen who wish to register to do so effectively and get enrolled on the electoral registers.
With all these handled this pre-electoral year, not only workers of ELECAM Cameroon will be trained to facilitate the realization of a hitch-free elections come 2025, but also the media, political actors, and civil societies shall be schooled.
Well, we're talking elections, and the good news coming from ELECAM, elections Cameroon, is that we have some 144,000 new voters. We can say it's good news, Mr. Bertrand Kengani.
Yes, it's good news, and it comes partly because of the work that some political parties are carrying. You see, the PAP, for instance, is very active in the field, especially in the southwest, the center, even the west and the north. We are also extending the littoral, so this week we'll be extending to other regions. It's a good thing to work. ELECAM is also doing well, it's doing good by working in collaboration with PAP, for instance. It's a good thing.
A good thing. Have you registered already, Lambert, for the upcoming elections? Lambert, Kevin, or you are not interested?
I'm still struggling to see whether they will give me a badge to cover the election.
You want to cover? Yes, apart from covering the elections, you can equally vote.
I will not tell you on air what I've done, or what I'm still to do. It is important. I really appreciate. But you want to take note, Tabi, these personnel, be the chairperson of Election Cameroon, they are being appointed. You want to bite the finger that fits you. That's an error. So the ELECAM, if care is not taken, we may be liaising with the ruling political party. Who knows? I'm just afraid that ELECAM is not doing their job 100%.
But at least we have new voters. They're talking of more than 144 new voters.
How many Cameroonians are there existing now? We are 30 million plus. Oh, if I'm not correct. If I'm, yes, like 30 million plus. Now we're talking about 140 something
new voters,
and we are clapping hard. We should encourage people to register. The number is still limited.
Have you registered?
I am telling you that I will not say what I've done or what I'm still to do. But it's important. ELECAM should carry on their work.
That's how you have registered. I hope so.
What is
how is it going to people to register without you?
What is going to happen in those areas we know that guns are still existing? Is it going to be effective? Or elections will be carried out in some particular areas in Cameroon? When I talk about elections, presidential election in Cameroon, I think all the areas, all the regions, divisions and subdivisions should be involved. Not only some particular areas where there is relative calm. Because even here in Yaoundé, there is still insecurity. And if you are talking here and not be careful, you will one day disappear like Martinez Zogo.
Yes, Mr. Jean-Paul. Yes, elections, at least people are. We have new voters. We're talking of 144,000 new voters.
No, I think that's a laudable effort. I think from the CPDM part also we're insisting, just with our 39th anniversary that just passed. We're also increasing a number of militants and reiterating on our section president and subsection presidents the importance of going to vote. I think we within the CPDM I've understood that we have changed our mindset. It's a competitive electoral challenges that are there.
Have you registered already?
I've registered to vote long ago, so I'm ready to vote. So if the election,
if the elections are tomorrow,
we shall be ready to go. But it's not just being ready to go to elections. It's being able to make our militants understand the reason why they are voting. It's a political maturity. I think that's the difference where we are. We have a majority, but we understand that this our majority is fragile if we are not conscious with our militants and conscious with our voters. Because in political science, there's also a reverse. You can have the most voters, but if they are not satisfied, they can change their mind. When someone goes to a ballot box, it's their vote. So we can never underestimate the ballot box vote of someone. So for me, for my humble side, and for the humble side for those of us within the CPDM parties, we keep reiterating the message. It's a competitive election year. We shouldn't sit on our laurels.
Youths
and youth, I think women is 90 women. We have about 90,000 votes, and then there are youth. We would hope that there will be more, but we also understand a lot of women are very conscious. But just like all of us have rightly said here, we're wishing going to the market. We are hoping that we have more and more conscious youths. Just like, I mean, if anyone watching back at home, the take-home message is that if you look at this panel, they are all youths.
Okay.
The take-home message.
It's
so
true.
Definitely for us
it's
to call
true.
that is
Anshan, it's true that in Senegal, youth went out to vote. A good number of youths went out to vote. We have the president of a youth political party, the Cameroon Patriotic Youth Party. Tell us, are you also mobilizing people, youths, to go out there and get registered?
Yeah, I just came back from Douala. Where I work on this program for 3 good weeks. So it is a very interesting job to do, to try to sensitize the population, to try to explain to them, because I personally was on the field. I was talking with people, bringing them to the Elekam registration station, convincing them to register. So, of course, most Cameroonians are skeptic, but it depends.
But the work is going on, and registration is going on, and
so
we have new voters.
We have covered a large scale of the population of Douala. I think it is interesting to do this job.
It is interesting to do the job. We shall say a word on Martinez Zogo just for 3-4 minutes. The time for us to see that the court case of the murder of Martinez Zogo has opened at the Yaoundé Military Tribunal. The 17 people accused of torture, complicity, of assassination of radio animator and the station manager of Amplitude FM were present in court this Monday. Amongst them was Maxime Ekoeko, Danwe Justin, Bruno Bijang, and of course business tycoon Jean-Pierre Amougou Bellingham. Today the lawyers of the accused were present, actually presented a case saying that the clients were all innocent. The lawyer of Jean-Pierre Amougou Bellingham, Barrister Chunga, of course, was asking for a televised trial, and of course, at the end of it all, we caught up with Barrister Claude Assira. Let's hear what Barrister Claude Assira had to tell us, especially as he is representing the civil party. Can we have Barrister Claude Assira?
I think that the state of Cameroon, who is the real actor in that case, think that he has to be there, because a lot has been said against the state. Many persons thought that the state was the main actor, was the person who decided of the death of that journalist. So the state thinks that he has his own truth to say publicly, and the only place where he can say it is not the medias, as I saw those. The person is here before the court. That's why the state thought that it is his right and his duty to come here, to appear here. Secondly, I think that they took a risk, if you want me to give you my own opinion. I've never been for the state, never in my life. They know me, and I think that the fact that they decide that I should be the one to represent the interest here is a risk, which means that, in my own opinion, maybe they are serious when they say that they have nothing to deal with that murder. Only person who fears, who is afraid of the truth, is the one who has something to hide. If the state thinks that it has nothing to hide, why do you want him to be afraid of the transparency and the transmission? So that's why we think that the hearing can be broadcasted. For me, it is not a problem.
I'll begin with Ansha because I know a master's law a bit. Not a bit, the master's law. Yeah. Mr. Ansha Paul, it's true that Barrister Claude Assira is representing the state in this issue. He says that the state has nothing to hide because many people are pointing an accusing finger to the state, saying that the state is responsible for the assassination of the journalist, of the radio animator Rejoignez-nous. What is your take after listening to Claude Assira?
No, my take is he's very right, but there are also certain aspects of it that we have to we have to legally be able to question as well, because mind you, it's in a military tribunal. The only reason why it's in a military tribunal is because there's been a violation of actually sovereignty laws, actually, because it would not be in a military tribunal if there were not state agents or a violation of the law by these state agents. So that's the reason why this particular case is in a military tribunal, because there was murder. If not, it would have been in a civil case, in a civil court. Now, when that happens, these state agents and security state agents belong to a particular organization. So when they belong to a particular organization, you have what we call classified information. And so every state has classified information, because once you declassify information, then it can be used by enemies of the state. Enemies of the state in this particular case could be Boko Haram, could be separatists, for whatever reason they may be. That's why every state has classified information. And with the declassification of the information, maybe at that particular moment, you can now actually address that and make them public. Now, what I would think the Barrister Claude Assira is actually talking about is that there will be certain proceedings that will be open to the public, because the state has nothing to hide. The state is saying there have been a violation of certain laws, and at this particular military tribunal, because there was a use of state agents for the violation of these particular laws, therefore we put that within this military tribunal for it to be exposed for in front of the law. So the state has nothing to hide. It is just that this violation was committed by state agents and there was murder. Therefore, the hearing and the proceedings occur before a military tribunal. So therefore, either party, which means those are the defendants, those that are being prosecuted, have the chance to be able to defend them within this arena, within this audience. So for me, I think, depending on the classification of the information, so if therefore the Barrister Assira is saying that it's in front of me, which means that the amount of classified information might not necessarily be a trouble for them to be able to know.
We have just 2 minutes. We are concluding. Given that there is a journalist on this panel, I'll ask the journalist, is it good news that finally the case is open in court today? The case of Rejoignez-nous.
It's good news, and it's because it's a murder case that we can't go to church to thank God for that. We need to know what happened and how it happened. For justice to be, there must be justice. Whatever is that, we have lost a journalist, we have lost a father, we have lost a personality.
A friend, even he was my friend.
And I am pleading that I don't want to say what the judges should do. They know their job. Cameroon has very fine laws. It is time for them, if it is just because of this Rejoignez-nous case that Cameroon will be presented as the best people, let it happen now, because we really want to know what happened to our friends, because some of the time we journalists, we are caught in between a certain tight corner that we are afraid to read even news.
Thank you, gentlemen, for coming. We shall organize another debate for Rejoignez-nous when the time comes. It's on this note that we are putting an end to this another edition of the Republican debate on the Republican television. Well, stay tuned as programs continue on the best of TV stations. Right ahead, we shall have our news in the 8 p.m. news, of course. a presentation of Marie Solange Manga. Till then, may the Almighty God continue to bless the Republic.